The explosion lit up the darkness of space like a dying star. Commander Veltar watched from his command chair as another of his ships became nothing but fire and metal pieces floating in the void. The Korthek had destroyed the battlecruiser, Shining Dawn with their acid weapons, taking 300 of his people with it. How many ships have we lost today? Veltar asked his second-in-command, trying to keep his voice steady. His crystal-like skin glowed blue with stress, a sign his crew could not miss. 12 ships destroyed, sir. 8 more badly damaged, replied Captain Zexta, her own crystal body flickering between blue and red. The Korthek lost 15 ships, but they have more coming. They always have more coming. Veltar closed his eyes and felt the weight of 300 years pressing down on him. His grandfather had fought in this war. His father had died in this war. Now he was here, watching his own people die in the same endless fight. The Zephyrians were master of energy weapons and plasma technology, but the insect-like Korthek bred. Faster than they could kill them dot far across the battlefield, in the dark belly of a biomechanical ship that looked more like a giant beetle than a spacecraft. Hive Queen Zakth felt the death of her children through the mental link all Korthek shared. 15 of her drone ships had been turned to ash by Zephyrian energy beams, each one carrying 50 of her offspring. She clicked her mandibles together in anger, the sound echoing through the wet corridors of her ship. The Korthek were strong, numerous, and their bioships could repair themselves given time. But the crystal beings had weapons that could cut through anything, and their technology was older and more advanced than her own. "My queen," buzzed one of her warrior drones, approaching on 6 legs. "The Zephyrian fleet is retreating to the inner system. Should we follow?" "No," Zakth replied, her compound eyes reflecting the red glow of her ship's organic lighting. "Let them run back to their crystal cities. We will hit their supply lines instead. This war will not end until every crystal creature is dead or surrenders." The Battle of Kepler 442 was over, but like every battle in this war, it solved nothing. Both sides would count their dead, repair their ships, and prepare to fight again. It had been this way for 3 centuries. On the planet below, what had once been a beautiful world with blue oceans and green forests was now a wasteland. The continents were covered in the wreckage of crashed ships, the oceans boiled away by plasma weapons, and the air was poison. Millions of colonists from both sides had died here when the war first began. Now it was just another dead world in a galaxy full of them. The war had started over something so simple that most people had forgotten what it was. A trade dispute over mining rights in the Vega system. The Zephyrians claimed they had discovered the mineral-rich asteroids first. The Korthek said their scouts had been there for years. What began as angry words became economic warfare, then open conflict. 300 years later, entire generations had been born and died knowing nothing but war. Young Zephyrians learned to fly fighters before they learned to speak properly. Korthek children were bred in war hives and taught that crystal beings were evil monsters who wanted to destroy their way of life. The galaxy had grown tired of the conflict long ago. Trade routes that once connected dozens of systems now took long detours to avoid the war zone. Entire sectors had been abandoned as the fighting spread from system to system. What had once been the most prosperous region of the galaxy was now a graveyard of broken ships and dead worlds. The Galactic Mediation Council had tried to stop the war 17 times. They sent diplomats, peace negotiators, even religious leaders. From both sides, nothing worked. The Zephyrians would agree to talk, then the Korthek would attack a crystal city. The Korthek would agree to a ceasefire, then Zephyrian energy weapons would destroy a hive world. Other alien species had tried to help. The Vrex offered to relocate both populations to new systems. The Mollusk Federation suggested splitting the disputed territory in half. The wise elders of Centauri proposed a joint government for all contested worlds. Every solution was rejected by one side or the other, usually both. Some species had even tried to stop the war by force. The hegemony of Rigel sent their fleet to impose peace, only to have both sides unite temporarily to drive them away. The machine collective calculated that the war would end civilization in the galaxy if it continued, and sent robot ships to destroy both fleets. The Zephyrians and Korthik worked together for 3 months to fight off the machines, then went back to killing each other the day after the last robot ship was destroyed. As the years passed, the war became part of normal life for everyone in the galaxy. News reports would mention the daily casualties, like weather reports. Today the Korthik destroyed 2 Zephyrian cruisers near Altair. The Zephyrians responded by burning 3 hive ships in the Tau Ceti system. Trading prices for metal ore are up because the main shipping lane through that sector is still blocked by wreckage. Commander Veltar returned to his flagship, the Crystal Spear, after the battle. He walked through corridors filled with wounded soldiers and crew members working frantically to repair damage. In the medical bay, Dr. Kevron was treating burns from acid weapons, the kind that ate through Zephyrian crystal skin like water through salt. "How bad is it?" Veltar asked. "We'll save most of them," the doctor replied, not looking up from his work. "But I've been saying that for 20 years now." "How many more, Commander? How many more have to die before this ends?" Veltar had no answer. He had asked himself the same question every day since taking command. His people were strong, their technology was advanced, their cause was just. They were defending their homes, their way of life, their right to exist. But so were the Korthik, in their own minds. Meanwhile, Hive Queen Zact H stood in her breeding chamber, surrounded by the eggs that would become the next generation of warriors. Her species reproduced quickly, which was the only reason they were still alive after 3 centuries of war. But even the Korthik were starting to feel the strain. Their home worlds were running out of resources. Their bioships took longer to grow each year as the genetic material became harder to find. "My Queen," one of her advisors approached carefully. "The Council of Hives has sent a message. They want to know when the war will end. The outer colonies are starving." Zek's answer was always the same. "The war ends when the crystal creatures surrender or die. Until then, we fight." But deep inside, she wondered if her species would survive long enough to see victory. The Korthik were tough, but they were not infinite. Every loss made them weaker, even if they would never admit it. Neither side could win, but neither side could afford to lose. So the war continued, consuming ships and lives and entire worlds, while the galaxy watched and waited for something, anything, to change. In the distance, beyond the edge of known space, a small yellow star burned quietly in the darkness. Around it, a blue and green planet spun peacefully, unaware that its children would soon be called upon to end the longest war in galactic history. Earth continued its slow orbit, completely ignorant of the alien civilizations tearing each other apart among the stars. The war raged on, as it had for 300 years. But change was coming, though no one could have guessed what form it would take. The signal came from deep space at 3 in the morning, Earth time. Admiral Jake Morrison was drinking his 4th cup of coffee in Luna Station's command center when the communication officer, Lieutenant Ben Clark, suddenly sat up straight in his chair. "Sir, we're getting something strange on the long-range array," Ben said, his fingers moving quickly over his control panel. "It's not natural. Someone is broadcasting on multiple frequencies at once." Jake set down his coffee and walked over to look at the screens. Lines of data scrolled past faster than he could read them, but he could see patterns in the chaos. Mathematical sequences, star charts, something that looked like technical diagrams. This was not random noise from space. How far away is it coming from? Jake asked. Best guess, about 40 light years, sir. The signal is incredibly powerful. To reach us from that distance. Whoever sent this has technology we've never seen before. Jake felt his heart rate increase. Humanity had been looking for signs of alien life for centuries. They had found bacteria on Mars, some interesting chemistry on the moons of Jupiter, but nothing that could build a radio transmitter. This was different. This was proof that humans were not alone in the universe. Wake up Dr. Park, Jake ordered. Tell her we need her in the communications lab right now. And get me a direct line to Earth Command. Dr. Lisa Park arrived 30 minutes later, still in her pajamas, but carrying 3 laptops and a bag full of translation software. She was the best xenolinguist in the solar system, which had been a mostly theoretical job until now. She had spent 20 years studying how alien languages might work, creating computer programs to decode messages from civilizations that might think completely differently than humans. Show me what we have, Lisa said, settling into a chair, and connecting her equipment to the station's main computer. The signal was complex, beyond anything she had expected. It was not just one message, but dozens, all layered on top of each other like voices in a crowded room. Her computers began sorting through the data, looking for patterns and mathematical relationships that might indicate intelligence. This is S. Incredible, Lisa whispered as her screens filled with decoded information. Jake, this is not just one alien species. There are multiple different communication styles here. At least 6 different civilizations are involved in sending this message. What are they saying? Jake asked, leaning over her shoulder to look at the screens. Lisa worked for 3 hours, her programs slowly making sense of the alien mathematics and converting concepts into English. What she found made her face go pale. It's a distress call, she said finally. No, not just a distress call. It's a plea for help from something called the Galactic Mediation Council. They are asking for intervention in a massive war. She pulled up a star chart on her main screen, showing the local region of the galaxy with Earth marked as a tiny dot near the edge. 40 light years away, a large section of space was highlighted in red. According to this data, 2 alien civilizations have been fighting for over 300 years. The casualty numbers are enormous, billions dead, entire star systems destroyed. The message says that every attempt at peace has failed, and they are asking for help from any species that receives the signal. Jake stared at the numbers on the screen. The scale of destruction was beyond anything in human history. Earth's worst wars had killed millions. These aliens were talking about billions of dead across dozens of worlds. What kind of help are they asking for? Jake asked. Mediation, negotiation, fresh perspective. They say that every known species in their region of space has tried to stop the war and failed. They are broadcasting this message to anyone who might be listening, hoping that someone new might have ideas they have not tried. Jake made the hardest decision of his career in the space of 10 seconds. Ben, send a message to Earth Command. Tell them we need an emergency meeting of the Defense Council. Lisa, keep working on that signal. I want to know everything about this war before we decide what to do. The meeting on Earth lasted 18 hours. President Karen White sat at the head of the table in the Pentagon's secure conference room, surrounded by military leaders, scientists, and diplomats. The debate was intense and sometimes angry. We cannot just ignore this, argued Secretary of State Helen Garcia. If these aliens are telling the truth, we are talking about a humanitarian crisis on a scale never seen before. We have a moral obligation to try to help. General Paul King disagreed strongly. We have no idea what we would be walking into. These could be hostile aliens trying to lure us into a trap. Earth safety has to come first. Dr. Richard Stone from the Space Science Institute had a different concern. Even if they are telling the truth, what makes anyone think we can succeed where entire galactic civilizations have failed? We have not even left our own solar system yet. The debate continued through the night. Some wanted to send a diplomatic response, but no ships. Others wanted to send a small scout vessel to observe from a safe distance. A few argued for a full military expedition to show that humanity was not afraid. In the end, President White made the decision that would change human history. We send one ship, she announced. A diplomatic mission with a small crew. Our best people, but not so many that we risk losing a significant portion of our space capability if something goes wrong. Captain Ron Carter will command the mission. Captain Carter was called to Earth from his patrol near Jupiter. He was 45 years old, had 20 years of experience in space, and had commanded the first human mission to Alpha Centauri 5 years earlier. If anyone could handle first contact with alien civilizations, it was him. His crew was chosen carefully. Lieutenant Amy Bell would serve as tactical officer. She was young, but had the best reflexes and fastest decision-making skills in the fleet. Chief Petty Officer Dan Murphy was the most experienced engineer in space, capable of fixing anything that could break on a starship. Dr. Nina Scott was both a medical doctor and a xenobiologist, trained to deal with alien life forms. Their ship was the UES Horizon, the newest and fastest vessel in the human fleet. It had been designed for long-range exploration, equipped with the most advanced faster-than-light drive humanity had ever built. The journey to the alien war zone would take 6 months. The night before departure, Captain Carter sat in his quarters, looking at the star charts Dr. Park had created from the alien signal. The war zone covered an area of space larger than anything humans had ever imagined exploring. Hundreds of star systems, some with multiple planets, all caught up in a conflict that had been raging since before the United States was founded. Captain, Dr. Scott said over the intercom, "We have finished loading the medical supplies. If we do encounter wounded aliens, we should be able to help them, at least with basic injuries." "Good thinking, Doctor," Carter replied. "Amy, how are our defensive systems?" Lieutenant Bell's voice came from the bridge. "All weapons systems are operational, sir. I have loaded non-lethal options as well, in case we need to defend ourselves without starting an interstellar incident." "Dan, what about the engines?" "Chief," Murphy answered from engineering. "The FTL drive is running perfectly, Captain. We should be able to reach the target coordinates in exactly 6 months and 2 days. Carter looked out his window at Earth, hanging in space like a blue and white marble. Tomorrow they would leave everything they had ever known behind and venture into a war zone between alien civilizations. They had no idea what they would find there, or if they would ever come home. The next morning, the UES Horizon departed Earth orbit and jumped into faster-than-light travel. Behind them, Earth continued its peaceful orbit around the sun. Ahead of them lay the unknown, and a war that had consumed the galaxy for 3 centuries. The journey would give them 6 months to prepare for whatever they would find at the end. The journey through space gave Captain Carter and his crew 6 months to study everything they could about the alien war. Dr. Lisa Park had transmitted all her decoded information to the UES Horizon before they left Earth, and the crew spent countless hours learning about the 2 civilizations that were destroying each other. The Zephyrians were beings made of living crystal, masters of energy weapons and plasma technology. Their ships looked like giant jewels floating through space, beautiful but deadly. They lived on worlds with crystal cities that grew like gardens, each one a work of art that took centuries to complete. The Korthic were very different. They looked like giant insects with hard shells and multiple arms. Their ships were grown rather than built, living creatures bred for war. They lived in hive cities underground, ruled by queens who could speak to all their people through their minds. The more I read about them, the more confused I get, Lieutenant Bell said during one of their planning meetings. They seem like they should be able to get along. Both species value family. Both are intelligent. Both have rich cultures. So why have they been fighting for 300 years? Dr. Scott had been studying the medical data about both species. I think the problem is that they are too different to understand each other. The Zephyrians live for over 500 years and think slowly. The Korthic live fast lives of maybe 50 years and make quick decisions. When they try to talk, the crystal beings think the insects are being rude and hasty. The insects think the crystal beings are being arrogant and slow. Chief Murphy looked up from his engineering reports. Their technology does not make sense either. The Zephyrians have amazing energy weapons, but terrible logistics. They can destroy a planet, but they cannot keep their supply lines working. The Korthic can grow new ships and repair battle damage, but their weapons are primitive compared to what the crystal people have. Captain Carter nodded as he listened to his crew. It sounds like both sides are fighting the wrong kind of war. They have been doing the same things for 3 centuries and expecting different results. As they got closer to the war zone, they began to see the evidence of the long conflict. Dead ships floating in space, some so old that they had become part of asteroid belts, planets that had been burned clean of life, space stations that had been abandoned for decades, still drifting through empty systems. "My God," Dr. Scott whispered as they passed through the wreckage of what had once been a civilian transport convoy. "There are hundreds of ships here. These were not military vessels. These were families trying to evacuate." The scale of destruction was beyond anything the humans had imagined. Earth's worst wars had been terrible, but they had been fought on one world. This conflict had consumed dozens of star systems, turning thriving civilizations into graveyards. Finally, they reached Harmony Prime, the neutral station where the Galactic Mediation Council met. It was a massive structure, built by combining the technologies of dozens of different alien species. Ships from across the galaxy were docked there, all trying to find some way to end the war. "UES Horizon, this is Harmony Prime Control," a voice said over their radio, speaking in heavily accented English. "Welcome to the Council Station. Please dock at Bay 94. Delegate Kulinex is waiting to meet with you." Captain Carter had never seen so many different types of alien beings in one place. As they walked through the station's corridors, they passed creatures that looked like walking trees, others that seemed to be made of liquid metal, and some that floated in the air without any visible means of support. Delegate Kulinex was waiting for them in a conference room designed to accommodate beings of many different sizes and shapes. He looked like a giant salamander with 6 arms and skin that changed colors as he spoke. "Captain Carter," Kulinex said through a translation device, "we are honored that your species has come to help. We have been fighting this war for longer than your entire civilization has existed. Perhaps fresh eyes can see something we have missed." The delegates showed them holographic displays of the war zone, with battle reports updated in real time. Even as they watched, red markers appeared on the display, showing new battles breaking out across multiple systems. "Every day, both sides lose ships and people," Kulinex explained. "Every day, we try to arrange meetings between their leaders. Every day, something happens to make the fighting worse. Last week, we almost had both sides to agree to a ceasefire. Then a Korthic hive ship accidentally rammed a Zephyrian hospital ship while trying to avoid plasma fire. 3,000 Zephyrian civilians died, and the Crystal people declared that talks were over. Dr. Scott studied the casualty reports. "These numbers are incredible. How do both civilizations still have enough people to keep fighting? The Zephyrians live for centuries, but reproduce slowly, Quillinex replied. They are running out of young people to pilot their ships. The Korthic breed quickly, but die young. They are running out of resources to feed their growing population. Both sides are slowly destroying themselves, but neither will admit it. Captain Carter asked the question that had been bothering him during the entire journey. If every species in the galaxy has tried to mediate this war, what makes you think humans can do any better? Quillinex's skin shifted to a hopeful yellow. Color. Because you are new. You have no history with either side, no old grudges or failed promises. Maybe you can say things that we cannot say, try approaches that we have not thought of. The next day, they arranged meetings with both sides. Commander Veltar came aboard as a free and diplomatic ship that looked like a floating cathedral made of blue crystal. His skin glowed with patterns that Dr. Park's computer said indicated polite but skeptical interest. "So you are the humans," Veltar said, his voice sounding like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. "Your species is very young. You have barely left your home system. What could you possibly understand about a conflict that has lasted longer than your entire recorded history?" Captain Carter kept his voice calm and respectful. "You are right, Commander. We are new to space, and we have a lot to learn. But sometimes, being an outsider means you can see things that people too close to a problem cannot see." Veltar's skin patterns shifted to what the computer translated as mild amusement. "And what do you see, young human?" "I see two civilizations that are dying because they cannot stop fighting long enough to remember why they started," Carter replied. "I see beautiful crystal cities being destroyed and hive worlds being burned, all over a trade dispute that happened 3 centuries ago. The crystal beings' glow dimmed. It is not that simple. The Korthic are destroyers by nature. They consume everything in their path like a plague. If we stop fighting, they will overrun the galaxy." Later that day, they met with Hive Queen Zakth on her bioship. The vessel was alive, its walls pulsing with organic rhythms. The Queen herself was larger than Captain Carter had expected, with compound eyes that seemed to look in all directions at once. "Humans," she clicked, her translator making her voice sound harsh and mechanical. "I have heard of species. You are mammals, soft and weak. You know nothing of war or survival. Why should we listen to creatures who have never faced real enemies?" Lieutenant Bell stepped forward. "Your Majesty, we may be soft, but we have survived ice ages, plagues, asteroid impacts, and countless wars. We are still here because we learned that sometimes the strongest thing you can do is stop fighting." Zaketh's mandibles clicked in what might have been laughter. "Stop fighting? The crystal creatures want to destroy our way of life. They think we are animals to be exterminated. If we stop fighting, they will wipe us from existence." "Captain." Carter realized that both sides were saying almost exactly the same thing about each other. Each believed the other was bent on total destruction. Each thought they were fighting for survival. The meetings continued for 3 days. Every time the humans thought they were making progress, something would happen to destroy the fragile trust they were building. A Zephyrian patrol would fire on a Korthic scout ship. A Korthic raiding party would attack a crystal mining station. The war continued even as they tried to talk about peace. On the 4th day, alarms began sounding throughout Harmony Prime. Both fleets were massing for another major battle in the Kepler 442 system, the same place where the war had begun centuries earlier. "They are going to destroy each other," Quillinex said sadly, his skin now a deep purple that meant despair. "This will be the largest battle of the war. Neither side will have enough ships left to continue fighting after this." Captain Carter watched the tactical displays as hundreds of ships from both civilizations moved toward their final confrontation. 300 years of hatred and fear were about to explode in one last, terrible battle. That was when he made the decision that would change everything. "Amy, send a message to Earth," he ordered. "Tell them we need the fleet." The message from Captain Carter reached Earth Command in the middle of the night. Admiral Morrison was pulled from his bed at Luna Station and brought to the emergency communications room where President White was waiting on a secure video link. From Washington. "Jake, I need you to tell me that our captain has not just declared war on 2 alien civilizations," the president said, her face grim on the screen. "Ma'am, Carter is requesting immediate military support to stop what he calls the final battle of a 300-year war. According to his report, both alien fleets are about to destroy each other completely. He thinks we can stop them." General King, who had opposed the mission from the beginning, was not happy. "This is exactly what I was afraid of. We send one diplomatic ship, and now we are being asked to intervene in an alien war with our entire fleet." But Secretary Garcia had read Carter's full report. "Paul, look at these casualty projections. If this final battle happens, we are talking about the complete destruction of 2 civilizations. Billions of lives. We cannot just watch that happen." President White made the decision that every human leader hoped they would never have to make. "Jake, how long would it take to get our fleet to the war zone?" "With our fastest ships using maximum FTL speed, about 3 weeks, ma'am." "Do it. Send everything we have. If we are going to do this, we are going to do it right." The mobilization of Earth's entire space fleet was the largest military operation in human history. Ships were pulled from patrol duty around Mars, Jupiter, and the outer planets. The massive dreadnought UES Liberty, humanity's most powerful warship, was brought out of space dock where it had been undergoing upgrades. In total, 312 ships prepared to jump to the alien war zone. Admiral Kate Young was given command of the fleet. She was 58 years old, had commanded ships in every major space operation for the past 20 years, and was known for her ability to make quick decisions under pressure. If anyone could handle humanity's first major military operation beyond the solar system, it was her. Back at Harmony Prime, Captain Carter and his crew watched the alien fleets move their final battle. The Zephyrians had assembled over 400 ships, everything they had left after 3 centuries of war. The crystalline vessels moved in perfect formation, their energy weapons already charging for the fight ahead. The Korthik had brought even more ships, over 600 bio-vessels that looked like a swarm of giant insects flying through space. But Carter could see from the tactical displays that many of the ships were damaged or barely functional. Both sides were throwing everything they had into this last battle. "Captain," Lieutenant Bell reported from her station, "long-range sensors show the fleets will meet in approximately 6 hours. The battle will take place in orbit around the 4th planet of the Kepler 442 system." Dr. Scott was monitoring communications between both fleets. "They are not even trying to talk to each other anymore. All I am picking up are tactical orders and battle preparations. There is so much hate in their voices." Chief Murphy had been studying the technical data on both fleets. "Sir, I do not think either side understands how badly damaged they really are. Most of these ships should not even be in space. They are held together with hope and spare parts." Delegate Quilinex stood beside Carter on the bridge of the UES Horizon, his skin a constant shifting pattern of sadness and despair. "This is how it ends," he said through his translator. 300 years of war, and it all comes down to one final battle that will destroy them both. That was when the human fleet arrived. The space around Harmony Prime suddenly filled with new contacts. As 300 human ships dropped out of FTL travel in perfect formation, the alien observers on the station had never seen anything like it. Human ships were different from anything in the galaxy, built for efficiency rather than beauty. designed by engineers rather than artists. All alien vessels. This is Admiral Kate Young of the Terran Defense Force. Her voice broadcast on all frequencies. We are here to prevent the destruction of two civilizations. All ships are to power down weapons and return to your home territories immediately. The response from both alien fleets was immediate and angry. Commander Veltar transmitted from his flagship. Human ships, you have no authority here. This is not your war. Leave immediately or be destroyed. Hive Queen Zak-Ek was even more direct. Soft mammals, go back to your small world. This fight is between warriors. You do not belong here. Admiral Young's response was calm but firm. I am giving both fleets 30 seconds to stand down. If you do not comply, we will stand you down ourselves. The aliens did not take the warning seriously. How could these newcomers, who had barely left their own solar system, threaten civilizations that had been fighting wars among the stars for millennia? The Zephyrians fired first. A massive energy beam from Commander Veltar's flagship lanced out toward the human fleet. It was a weapon that could destroy a moon, powered by the accumulated energy of a dozen crystal matrices. The beam struck the shields of the U.S. Liberty and scattered harmlessly into space. Well, Admiral Young said calmly from her command chair, I guess that answers that question. All ships, Operation Peacekeeper is now active. Disable all alien vessels. Do not destroy them. I want everyone alive when this is over. What happened next became known as the 4-hour peace in galactic history textbooks. The human fleet moved with a precision and coordination that stunned every observer. They did not try to destroy the alien ships. Instead, they systematically disabled every weapon, engine, and communication system with surgical accuracy. Human kinetic weapons, refined through centuries of Earth warfare and enhanced by quantum. Targeting computers struck exactly where they were aimed every time. Energy weapons were knocked offline with shots that severed power cables without damaging life support. Engine systems were disabled by precisely placed explosives that left the crews unharmed but unable to move. The Korthek tried to swarm the human ships with their superior numbers, but human fighters moved through the alien formations like sharks through schools of fish. The bioships were tough, but human weapons were designed to penetrate any armor ever developed on Earth. The Zephyrians attempted to use their advanced energy shields, but human ships carried weapons that worked in ways the crystal beings had never encountered. Railguns fired projectiles at incredible speeds that simply punched through energy barriers like they were not there. Both alien fleets fought desperately, but they were fighting the wrong kind of enemy. They had spent 3 centuries learning how to fight each other. They had no idea how to fight humans. Colonel Steve Hayes led the boarding parties that secured disabled alien ships. His Marines moved through crystal corridors and bioship passages with professional efficiency, stunning alien crew members with non-lethal weapons and providing medical aid to the wounded. Admiral, Colonel Hayes reported over the radio, we have secured the Zephyrian flagship. Commander Veltar is alive and unhurt, but he looks like someone just told him that gravity was optional. Similar reports came in from across both fleets. The aliens were alive, their ships were intact but powerless, and most importantly, they had stopped shooting at each other. Dr. Park, who had arrived with the fleet, established communication links between all the disabled ships. For the first time in 3 centuries, Zephyrians and Korthek could hear each other without the background noise of weapons fire. This is impossible, Commander Veltar said, his crystal skin flickering with patterns that indicated complete confusion. How did you do this? Your ships are primitive. Your weapons are simple. How did you defeat both our fleets so easily? Admiral. Young answered from her command center, which was now coordinating humanitarian aid to both alien fleets. Commander, we did not defeat you. We stopped you. There is a difference. Your people spent 300 years learning how to fight each other. We spent 300 years learning how to fight anyone. Hive Queen Zek's voice crackled over the communication system. Humans, what do you want? What is your price? For victory? Do you claim our territories? Our resources? Your Majesty, Admiral Young replied, we do not want your territories or your resources. We want you to stop killing each other. That is all. The silence that followed lasted for several minutes. Both alien civilizations were trying to process what had just happened. They had prepared for conquest, for death, for destruction. They had not prepared for someone to simply make them stop fighting. Captain Carter, still aboard the U's horizon, watched as human medical ships moved between the disabled alien vessels, offering aid to anyone who needed it. Human engineers were already working to restore basic life support and navigation systems to ships that would otherwise drift helplessly in space. Delegate Quillen-X, Carter said to the amphibious being beside him, I think the war is over. Quillen-X's skin showed a color that Carter had never seen before. According to the translation computer, it meant amazed beyond words. The first thing Admiral Young did after stopping the war was something no one expected. She invited both alien commanders to dinner. You want us to eat together? Commander Veltar asked, his crystal skin showing patterns of complete confusion. The Korthik are our enemies. We have been killing each other for 3 centuries. And how has that worked out for you? Admiral Young replied calmly, your people are dying, your worlds are ruined, and your fleets are floating dead in space. Maybe it is time to try something different. The dinner took place aboard the UES Liberty in a conference room that human engineers had quickly modified to accommodate both species. The Zephyrians needed crystal chairs that could conduct the energy their bodies used for communication. The Korthik required humidity controls and organic cushions that would not irritate their insect-like skin. Dr. Park spent hours working with translation computers to make sure both sides could understand each other properly. What she discovered was remarkable. Admiral, she reported before the dinner began, I have been analyzing 3 centuries of communications between these species. They have been fighting for so long that they have forgotten how to talk to each other. Their languages have changed. Their diplomatic protocols have been corrupted by mistrust, and half of their arguments are based on misunderstandings. The dinner itself was awkward at first. Commander Veltar sat on one side of the table, his crystal body glowing with defensive patterns. Hive Queen Zakth remained on the other side, her compound eyes watching every movement. Admiral Young sat between them like a referee at a boxing match. So, Admiral Young began, cutting into her meal as if this was the most normal thing in the world. Tell me about your peoples, not your militaries, not your weapons, not your territories. Tell me about your families. Commander Veltar was surprised by the question. Our families? Why would you want to know about that? Because people who understand each other's families have a harder time killing each other. Admiral Young replied simply. Slowly, carefully, the 2 alien commanders began to talk. Veltar spoke about crystal gardens, where Zephyrian children learned to shape energy into beautiful patterns. Zakth described hive nurseries, where young Korthik were taught to sing in harmonies that could be heard across entire continents. Dr. Scott, who was observing the dinner, noticed something remarkable happening. Captain Carter, she whispered into her communicator, you need to see this. When they talk about their families, their body language completely changes. The defensive postures disappear. They actually seem to like each other. The breakthrough came when Hive Queen Zakht mentioned that Korthik children were taught songs about the beautiful crystal cities they had seen and captured. Zephyrian art. Commander Veltar admitted that young Zephyrians often tried to create crystal sculptures that mimicked the complex harmonies of Korthic hive songs. "Wait," Admiral Young said, setting down her fork. "You have been trying to copy each other's art for 3 centuries, even while you were fighting?" Both aliens looked embarrassed. It was the first emotion they had shown that was exactly the same. The real work began the next day. Admiral Young established what she called the Reconstruction Authority on the planet Prematurius, the world where the war had started. Colonel Hayes led the occupation force, but instead of conquering the planet, they began rebuilding it. Human engineering teams worked alongside both alien species to clear the wreckage of crashed ships and restore the planet's damaged atmosphere. Dr. Park established translation centers where Zephyrians and Korthic could learn to communicate properly for the first time in generations. "The problem," Dr. Park explained to a mixed group of alien civilians, "is that you have been talking past each other for so long that you forgot you are trying to say the same things. When a Zephyrian says, 'We value tradition,' a Korthic hears, 'We refuse to change.' When a Korthic says, 'We adapt quickly,' a Zephyrian hears, 'We have no respect for the past.'" The translation sessions revealed hundreds of similar misunderstandings. Words that meant caution in Zephyrian had been translated as cowardice in Korthic for decades. Korthic expressions of enthusiasm had been interpreted as threats by crystal beings who valued calm deliberation. Meanwhile, human medical teams discovered something amazing. Dr. Scott was treating wounded soldiers from both species when she noticed that Zephyrian energy healing could repair damage to Korthic bioships, while Korthic regeneration techniques could restore damaged crystal matrices. "Admiral," Dr. Scott reported excitedly, "these species are not just compatible, they are complementary. Their technologies work better together than they do separately. The Zephyrians have incredible energy production, but terrible biosciences. The Korthic have amazing biological engineering, but primitive energy systems. They have been fighting over resources when they should have been trading expertise." Admiral Young was not surprised. "Doctor, in my experience, the things people fight about most violently are usually the things they need most from each other." The first joint project was restoring the orbital habitats around Prima Tertius. Human engineers provided the organizational framework, Zephyrian energy experts powered the construction equipment, and Korthic bioengineers grew living components that could repair themselves. The project that should have taken years was completed in 3 months. Word of the cooperation spread across both civilizations. On Zephyrian crystal worlds, news reports showed Korthic workers helping to rebuild damaged cities. On Korthic hive planets, images of crystal beings teaching energy techniques to young insects were broadcast to amazed populations. There was resistance, of course. General Zelmer of the Zephyrian military argued that humans were naive fools who did not understand the true nature of the Korthic threat. War leader Vizak of the Korthic insisted that the crystal beings were just waiting for a chance to destroy them all. Admiral Young dealt with the troublemakers in a typically human way. She gave them jobs. "General Zelmer," she said during a meeting with Zephyrian leaders, "you are absolutely right that we need to be careful about security. That is why I am appointing you as head of the Joint Peacekeeping Force. Your job will be to make sure that both species can work together safely." War leader Vzak, she told the Korthic Council, "your concerns about protecting your people are completely valid. I want you to design the security protocols for all joint projects. Make sure that Korthic interests are protected at every step." Within 6 months, both former hardliners were working together to solve problems they had never imagined before. How do you design security systems that protect both energy-based and biomechanical technologies? How do you create emergency procedures that work for beings who think at completely different speeds? The first joint colony was established on a previously uninhabited world in the neutral zone. Human administrators handled the logistics. Zephyrian architects designed crystal cities that could house both species. And Korthic engineers grew bio-infrastructure that could support the energy needs of their crystal neighbors. Captain Carter, who had been promoted to Commodore for his role in ending the war, visited the colony 6 months after it was founded. What he found amazed him. "Admiral," he reported to Young over subspace radio, "you have to see this place. There are crystal beings and insects working side by side in the same buildings. Korthic children are learning to shape energy from Zephyrian teachers. Zephyrian artists are creating sculptures that sing with bioharmonic frequencies. They are not just cooperating. They are creating something entirely new." The transformation was not limited to the former war zone. The success of human mediation spread across the galaxy. Other species that had been fighting their own smaller conflicts began asking for human help. The Terran Peacekeeping Corps was established with a simple mission: stop wars before they started, and help civilizations find better ways to solve their problems. Admiral Young eventually became the first human ambassador to the Galactic Council. When she was asked about humanity's secret to ending conflicts that had lasted for centuries, her answer became famous across the galaxy. "We do not pick sides," she said. "We pick peace. We do not try to decide who is right or who is wrong. We just make them stop fighting long enough to remember that they are all people with families and dreams and hopes for the future." Commander Veltar, now serving as the Zephyrian representative to Earth, often spoke about the day the humans arrived. "We called them primitives," he would say. "We thought they were too young, too simple, too naive to understand our sophisticated conflict. But they understood something we had forgotten in 3 centuries of war. They understood that the strongest thing you can do is choose not to fight." The war that had consumed the galaxy for 300 years was over. It ended not with conquest or surrender, but with something much more powerful. It ended with understanding that, and across the galaxy, when conflicts arose between different species, the solution was always the same: call the humans. They know how to make people stop fighting and start talking. The Terran motto, inscribed on every peacekeeping ship, became the most feared phrase among warmongers everywhere.